And I had to check myself into a hospital, which a lot of people don't know. So this is my first time sharing it, because I felt like I was at my breaking point and I did not want to be here anymore. And I had to figure myself out. People are very off-putting when it comes to female comedians. They're not really receptive to them. I feel like we do have it a lot harder. I feel like there's a female comedian that can say the same exact thing as a male comedian, but if a male comedian says it, it's way more funnier. Whatever the reason is, I don't know. People were showing up to my house and wanting to fight me, and it would be like a group of people that showed up on my block, and you know, they wanted to fight. They would throw stuff at my porch. It was that serious. I've been there. I'm not going to lie. I've been to that part of my life where I felt like I didn't want to be here. But what kept me here is obviously my kids. My ultimate goal is to make this my career, where I don't have to do my 9 to 5, where I can pay all my bills and more just by doing this. But it's easier said than done.
It does seem like whenever there's like something like extremely like vulnerable or extremely personal, you do have this side which like wants to make a joke out of it.
I do.
When it can be like extremely serious.
I do. I don't know why. I gotta ask my therapist.
This episode of the Smooth Podcast is brought to you by Rhode Island's #1 Black realtor, Sam Albert. Sam Albert has helped several people that I personally know buy and sell their homes, including myself. I bought my first multifamily property from Sam Albert. We all know how difficult it is to buy a property right now, and it's almost impossible to get an offer accepted. That's why it's super important to work with a realtor that not only has the experience, but one that also has a number of listings that you can see before they hit the market. If you already own a home and you're just looking to take advantage of these historically high prices and sell your property, then Sam Albert can also help you with that. He can get you the highest price for your home while making it a smooth and easy process. So if you're looking to buy or sell a property in Rhode Island, you need to reach out to Sam at 401-856-9660. You can also find him on Instagram at Samuel.Albert. That's at SAMUELL.ALBERT. Enjoy the show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Smooth Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Lambert. Here to the left of me, I have one of New England's rising IG stars. She goes by the name of
Jess Andrade, Malcriada.
And see, I had her say it because I would butcher it and I wouldn't feel right about it. So, Jess, what's going on?
What's poppin'?
All right. So, for those that don't know, I guess it's kind of difficult because I don't want to call you necessarily an IG comedian. What would you say your content is? Would you call yourself an IG comedian or something else?
Honestly, I would call myself a Instagram Cape Verdean influencer.
Okay, I follow that. And now, let's bring it back. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
But I've moved like 1,000 times.
All right. My life. And now, was there? How is the Cape Verdean population in New York?
Slim to none. Yeah, I had to actually go through a phase. I had a whole identity crisis where I used to tell people I was Dominican and Puerto Rican.
No way.
Yeah, no, because everybody was like, you're making that up. Like, you're not African. Like, there's no such thing. So then I started to believe it. I was really young. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess they're right. They're like, you're Dominican or you're Puerto Rican. I literally had a big banner, like a Puerto Rican flag in my room. It was that deep.
And now, were you living there with both parents, with just one? Who were you living there with?
At the time, I was only living with my dad.
Okay. And you knew your dad was Cape Verdean?
Yeah, of course.
So you weren't, like, there was no, like, fight back with that? You were just like, oh, I must be Spanish if everyone's telling me I'm Spanish.
Listen, I had the flag in my room, and my parents didn't tell me to take it down. So I think they knew that I was going through something, and they allowed it to be what it was until I figured it out. Because they were never like, take that down. They were just like, all right, like, you know, we get it.
Yeah. It's interesting how that happens, especially in like African cultures, how sometimes we feel, I don't want to say inferior, but we feel like the masses, you know, we have to kind of cope with the masses and go with their beliefs, go with their traditions, and just to like fit in, especially in those young formidable years when you're really just trying to be liked by everyone, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that must have been tough. And now, you know, what kind of student were you growing up?
I think I was a pretty average student. When I was really young, I was really great. I was always student of the month. I was like top. And then I feel like as I grew older, I was just more so average.
Okay.
Not a bad student, but average. Only because I think a big part of me has always struggled to like focusing on one thing. And in high school, I went to 4 different high schools. And like the high school that I graduated from, I played sports. So I did flag football, volleyball, basketball, and that was more so my focus. But I had an amazing coach. So he was like, you need to get it together or else you're not going to play.
What happened for you to go to all those different schools?
Nothing really, to be honest. And it's so funny because like people are like, were your parents in the army? But they weren't. So I went to 4 different high schools. I went here in Rhode Island. I went to classical. I went to Shea High School. I also went to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And then I graduated from Point Siena High School in Florida.
Wow.
But in New York, I wasn't really feeling it. So then I ended up coming out here to Rhode Island because that's where my mom was. And then we just moved from Providence to Pawtucket. So that was like classical to Shea. And then what's funny that you asked me that is I had a Sweet 16 when I was 16 years old, obviously, Sweet 16. And there was a huge fight that broke out.
Just like all the Sweet 16s
right.
in the area.
No,
yeah.
But it was really bad. Like I had my family here. I mean, that's a whole story for like another day because it goes like more in depth. But long story short, it was a huge fight to the point that I had to end up getting homeschooled because it was literally that big of a deal. So I got homeschooled to the point my mom was like, we're moving to Florida. So we ended up moving to Florida. It was kind of like a restart. Mm-hmm. So then when we restarted there, it was like Florida was like my home base.
What can you say about the fight? Like, can you provide some details about like what happened?
What I can say is that it stemmed before the Sweet 16. It was more so my cousins who came out here from New Jersey. And we went to a house party and like, you know, they were out here practicing for my Sweet 16. And I was like, hey, there's this house party going on. We went there. And basically, I guess the guys who were there were a little upset because the girls were kind of like into my cousins.
Okay.
And so like there was a huge fight outside where everyone was fighting. Like my cousins were fighting with the guys. And then like even my friends at the time, we stopped talking, which really sucked, obviously. But then when the Sweet 16 came, I had to like uninvite a lot of people. And I don't know if that was like a vendetta that they had or whatever. Like, I don't even want to say that because I've healed from it. But a lot of them showed up to the Sweet 16. And one of my cousins was outside. He was smoking a cigarette. And somebody came and confronted him. And they started fighting. My other cousins came out. And then a whole group of guys just like from around the corner had bats, bottles. One of my cousins had a really bad concussion that affects him till this day.
No way.
It was really, really bad. He was in the hospital for a long time. So it was that serious. It really was. And then even after the fact, people were showing up to my house and wanting to fight me, and it would be like a group of people that showed up on my block, and you know, they wanted to fight. They would throw stuff at my porch. It was that serious. And I remember one day we had a talent show at Shea High School where I performed because I was on the dance team, and a lot of people who had an issue with me, they came up to me and they were talking to me and everything was cool. And I'm like, you know, okay. I'm a very I forgive easily. So I'm like, you know what, cool. Like, we don't have to have beef. Life is too short. And like with those girls, like for me and those girls, it was like, we're cool. Like, there's no issues. But obviously my cousins, it's like, is deeper because it affected them on a much higher level. But, you know, after that, I ended up moving to Florida. I made a new life there. But even with the people out here, I'm still cool with people from Rhode Island. And the people who were involved in that fight, I still don't know who they were.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I feel like Sweet 16s were notorious for just like every time there was a Sweet 16, there was a fight after. Like, it was almost inevitable. It was like the weirdest thing ever. But I'm glad we kind of made it to adults now.
Right.
So with that being said, being, you know, obviously a funny woman now, were you funny back then? Were you more kept to yourself? Like, how would you describe your personality back then?
I think I've always been pretty goofy. I think I've always felt like, you know, just somebody who's always not even wanted to make people laugh. My father is really humorous, so I take a lot of that from him. So I've always been the person that just like, haha, kiki, like I laugh about everything. So I don't think that's something that's new. Even growing up, my dad has always recorded me and my sister. So that's something that's always come naturally to me. But what I will say is into adulthood and doing videos, like sometimes I feel like it's more forced. And that's why I pick and choose when I want to post videos, because I feel like if it's forced, like it doesn't hit the same. Like my videos that have been like big, it's been because I didn't push it. I was just doing what I do. But whenever I felt like I was trying to be funny or like trying to make people like it, that's when it didn't really hit.
See, and I think there is a beauty in content creation when it's like that. You know, I think when you're scheduling stuff, it could end up being more profitable because you're putting more out there, more eyeballs are seeing you. The algorithms like when you post more because there's just more eyes on your page and stuff like that. But I feel you 100%. Like even me, when I kind of just have an idea and I do the idea versus let me come up with something, it's like completely different. You know what I mean? With that being said, I saw that you were kind of early on just even being in front of the camera, being comfortable in front of the camera. Have you always been having that confidence, or did you have to grow into that?
No, shout out to my dad. Because like I said, he's been recording me and my sister since we were really young.
Oh, okay.
And so that's something that's just always come naturally to me. Even, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's like there's a camera, I'm like, what's poppin'? Like I'm ready because I'm used to it. And my mom, she used to hate that because my dad would walk around with like a camcorder for everything, and she was like, "Oh, come on, dude, like stop it." But it's like that's what's made me feel comfortable. But even with that said, I've done stuff in like I did a short film with Sophia Silva. Okay. Where she was doing a short film, and when I got into the camera, I like froze, and I'm like, Sophie.
Even though all the years of your dad playing the camera.
Yes, I was like, because it's a different ball game. Like it's one thing to do something informal, but then when you do something formally and there's a whole bunch of professionals around, that's a different ball game. Because then you got to keep repeating it and repeating it until you get it right. And that's something I had to learn. And I will say that is one thing that differentiates from what my dad used to do, because he would just have the camera and we would do whatever. But when you're doing something as a professional, yeah, that's a different ball game. It's very intimidating.
And now, what was the first video, or when was the first video that you recorded to post on YouTube or to post on social media?
The first like video that got me popping, they were doing this Now I'm Mad challenge. So I was like, oh, let me just do it, whatever. And basically I was just talking about how whenever I tell someone I'm Cape Verdean, they're like, huh, Cambodian? And I'm like, no, I'm Cape Verdean. Like, what don't you guys understand? Now I'm mad. And like that video, I think that was the first video I did, and it got to like 50K. And I'm like, so like maybe there is a whole community of Cape Verdeans that I don't even know about. Right. So that's what inspired me to like, you know, just do your shit.
So I'm personally not Cape Verdean, but I have Cape Verdeans in my family. And one thing I will say is that because Cape Verdean people, it's kind of like a niche ethnicity where it's like, if you know, you know. Like if you go across America, depending on what state, they've never heard of Cape Verde before, right?
Exactly.
So when their name is brought to light and when their culture is brought to light, I feel like there's nothing but gratitude and positivity and like cohesiveness within the culture. You know what I'm saying? So when they do see like, oh, Cape Verdean moms be like this or Cape Verdean dads be like this, I feel like they all gravitate towards that. I mean, even something as small as Fabulous being in Cape Verde for a video, right? Like that blew up into like this huge thing where I'm like, I'm sure rappers are in Jamaica all the time, but you don't see Jamaicans like, oh, he's in Jamaica. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I do feel like Cape Verdeans do a really good job of like praising everything that has to do with Cape Verde.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think it's because like a lot of people don't know who we are. I feel like now more and more people are starting to learn about Cape Verdeans. I know you saw Drake like posted, or he did a concert and he held up the Cape Verdean flag. Coi Leray, she's Cape Verdean. So more and more we're starting to see our name, be, brought more to light. But in essence, yeah, like a lot of people really don't know who Cape Verdeans are. And a part of me is like, cool, like that makes us exotic, you know?
Right.
But another part of me is like, that's what's up. Like people are starting to figure out who Cape Verdeans are, and we're not nobodies, like we exist because we don't, when you go through a drop down menu, like we don't have our official language that's out there. We don't have our official ethnicity that is out there. So I feel like there's pros and cons to it. Yeah.
So on the note of your comedic success, have you ever thought like, if I did, I know you like to do things organically, but on the other side of that, like, okay, if I did focus like 90% of my time and efforts on this, I could like really like blow up. Have you given that thought? And what's kind of like the conflicting thoughts that you've had that kind of, I guess, are fighting back on that?
Oh, I've definitely 100% have given that thought, but I have to be realistic, because I'm a mother of 3 boys. And honestly, this doesn't pay my bills as much as I would want it to. Like it might pay like a bill here and there, but it doesn't pay all my bills. So as a mother who has to provide for 3 boys, I have to be realistic. I work a regular 9 to 5, and that's what I have to focus on. Because if I don't focus on that and I lose that job, it's like, what's gonna pay the bills? You understand? But I want to, like, my ultimate goal is to make this my career where I don't have to do my 9 to 5, where I can pay all my bills and more just by doing this. But it's easier said than done. So it's like, as much as I would want to do it, I have to be realistic, and hopefully one day I can. But for now, I do what I gotta do, and hopefully one day I can make this a career.
And, your skits, why do you think people gravitate towards them? Is it the realistic component? Is it like, if you grew up in a Cape Verdean household, your mom acts like this type of thing? So like, what do you think is the gravitational pull for your fans / just people that like your stuff on Instagram?
I definitely think it's because it's relatable. It's like, it doesn't matter what island you're from. A lot of people can relate. And it's so funny because usually when I post something, someone will be like, do all our Cape Verdean, like, are we all the same? Do we all have like one handbook? And I think it's a lot because it's just relatable. Because I used to say this like way back. I'm like, I don't even think I'm funny. I just think I'm relatable. You know what I'm saying? And
Which could in turn be funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all about how you play with it. So I think once you become relatable and you can make that humorous, that's what gravitates people towards you. But then once you start to lose that, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is, a lot of people won't view it as this, but there is a portion of that there's a lot of vulnerability in that, because you are letting people inside your house in a way. Like, yeah, you're saying that, I'm sure there's some posts that you post and you're like, I hope that there's other parents that act like that. Like, I hope this isn't my mom like acting this way. So there is some vulnerability and some risk in it. And, you know, I'm sure that like as you grow and as your content grows, everyone is just going to be so profoundly invested, not only in you, but if you did get your mom involved, if you did get your dad involved, and you know that could be like a really cool situation. With that being said, what do you believe to be true when it comes to female comedians? Is it easier? Is it harder? What's your take on that?
I definitely think it's harder.
Okay.
110,000%.
Okay.
And it's not even through like my own experience. It's just even watching other female comedians. It's like if I go on YouTube and I'm watching other female comedians and I read the comments, you see like what people say, like, oh, watching female comedians is dry. Like people are very off-putting when it comes to female comedians. They're not really receptive to them. I feel like we do have it a lot harder. I feel like there's a female comedian that can say the same exact thing as a male comedian, but if a male comedian says it, it's way more funnier. Whatever the reason is, I don't know. But that's just what it is. I've seen so many female comedians where I read comments and people are like, no. But it's like, that was actually
really funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But even like with me, because I've done a few shows, you know, where I've had to stand against male comedians, and you'll see like sometimes the reaction is like great, but at the same time, sometimes the reaction is like not so great. And it doesn't even have to do with just comedy. It has to do with going to shows, just being a host. They don't give you that same respect that they give men. And that's a fact, especially in the Cape Verdean community. And that's something that I'm trying to figure out. That's something that I'm trying to not let it get the best of me. Because this year I did like a whole bunch of hosting. I did shows. But I did realize that there's like levels, like as far as the respect that you get. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when you realize that you're not kind of measuring up to your male counterparts. It kind of discourages you, and it sucks sometimes.
Yeah. The other thing, I mean, I'm sure there's other people wondering too, the female aspect of it all. How do you differentiate between like a supporter, a fan, and like maybe someone that's like supporting for the wrong reasons or for other ulterior motives than to support your comedy?
So I think like a true supporter, like supporter, someone who's there literally all the time, someone who's literally sharing everything, commenting on everything. And even if they're not, they're messaging you like, oh, I feel like this was funny, but I feel like you could have done better here or there. You know, I feel like a true supporter is somebody who's going to tell you like, yo, I love you, but I wasn't really feeling this. But I feel like you could do better in this part, you know? That's a supporter. Somebody who is watching you, but they're just not watching you to watch you. They're watching you to either really like value what you do, like what you do, but also critique it. Like, you know, this was not that great. I feel like maybe next time you should do this, you know? That's what a supporter is to me. Even like somebody who could be there at your shows. Like if they can, why not? If you support me, be there. And if you can't, just be like, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but did you record it somewhere? Can I watch it? And if they watch it, oh, wow, that was funny, or that wasn't so funny, you know? For me, that's what a supporter is. A fan is somebody who just, they like your stuff. They don't give a damn. They just like you because they like you. They like you for you. Like, I have a few of those. Like, I know that they comment on everything. And I know, like, some of my stuff don't hit the same all the time. But they're like, nah, like, I'm still liking it. I'm still commenting. Like, they're doing something to show that. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody who just watches you that doesn't really support, I have a lot of those, are people who just watch you. They don't like anything. They don't comment anything. They don't critique anything. They don't say anything. They just watch you. And it's like, and I was just talking about this on my live the other day, because it's like, then why are you watching me? I don't get it. I really don't understand those people. And especially, you know, with Instagram stories, you can see who watches your stuff. So if you're like one of those people who you're watching all of my stuff every single time, I think I've been doing my stuff since 2015. You've been watching my stuff since then. You've never said anything.
Yeah, that's weird.
But you watch everything. Like,
that's weird.
It's given... Yeah, very weirdo.
So, speaking of which, I'm going to get a little messy. Seeing that you look at your views and you're at 100,000 followers, so that, you know, congrats on that. That's a big. Give us a couple people that you were surprised that you caught in the views of your story.
No. What do you mean?
Like some famous people that we wouldn't ordinarily expect to be in your views that were in your views.
I've had a few. I've had a few DJs, like DJ Drewski. He lives in New York. Yeah. But in fairness, I've also contacted him like to give me advice, which he has. So, you know, I'm not going to say his name as a negative thing.
Like, if you've been in contact with these people, they don't count.
Okay.
I'm talking like the random, like, oh, wow, I didn't even know I was on this person's radar.
That's very interesting because I don't really pay attention to those people.
Okay.
I don't, like, if I've never messaged you and but I have. I've had a few people. But yeah, I've had people that I've had conversations with, like through messaging, and they're like people that people know, but then they won't really comment on my stuff or share my stuff, but we'll talk, like we'll have a conversation over DM, which is like, okay, like whatever. But me, I'm also the type of person, because what I've noticed, a lot of Cape Verdean artists, they'll message people and they'll be like, hey, can you share my stuff? Can you comment? Can you like? And I'm the type of person, I'm going to do it because I want to see everybody win. But I also would hope that everybody want people to see me win too. But then when I post something like me, like with the music, right? That's new. And like for me to put that out there, that's completely jumping out of my comfort zone. But it's like, I don't message people like, hey, can you like share this? Can you like it, please? I don't do that. And nobody does, ever. The people that I do it for, they don't do it. But I know that they see it because I post it on my story and they see it, but they don't share it. They don't like it. And it's like, damn, like, do I got to ask you? And sometimes maybe that's what it is. You got to ask people. But at the same time, I feel like you see it. So like, what do I gotta ask?
Yeah, it's so tough. That game is
weird.
so tough. It's weird. It's tough. It's you legit have to do everything and not expect anything in return, or else you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. There's so many people that have asked me to do something for them, and I have done it, but it hasn't been reciprocated, and it does suck. But like you said, you have to have like a strong backbone to just be like, you know, you're doing what you're doing because you love to do it.
Right.
So don't expect that what you do for people, you're gonna get that in return.
Right.
Just do you, and the people who really rock with you, they're gonna rock with you.
Right. And now, on the note of views and people just looking, what do you think is the balance of, you know, as individuals trying to make it, you know, I'm sure that there's been maybe guys saying things more than she's funny. Like they might make some gesture towards your actual appearance and things of that nature. Where do you find the balance between using looks as a way to get into doors that maybe you wouldn't be privy to otherwise, but still being taken seriously? Where do you find that gauge, that balance?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes like I'll do something and I was thinking about this lately. Like I'll wear a certain something because I know that I'll get like a certain audience to just like it because of how I look. And then there'll be other times where I'll just look normal and not that many people will like it. But the way I see it is that if I'm gonna post something and I know that it's gonna hit, no matter what I wear, it's gonna hit. You know what I'm saying? But if I really wanted to think about it that way, at this point, I would have made an OnlyFans by now. I would have done so many other things. Like, one of my highest views on Instagram was 1,000,000 something views off of a whisper ASMR type of vibe. You know, I would have just kept doing stuff like that. But, and it's so funny that you say that, because I've been losing a lot of followers because I'm not continuing to do that. I'm not continuing on that ASMR. I'm not continuing on that like provocative, because I don't want that to make me who I like. I don't want that to be the reason why I have the amount of followers that I have. So for me, it's like, okay, if you want to unfollow me because I'm not doing that, unfollow me. At the end of the day, I want my following to be based on who I am as a person and what I like to do. You know what I'm saying? And if you're following me for the wrong reasons because you want to see something that I'm not going to keep producing, then that's your right.
Yeah. That's interesting. How do you measure success?
That's funny. Money.
That's definitely one for me. So
Definitely money, but not only just money. Obviously, money is a big thing for me, especially as a mom of 3. You need money, like you do. You know what I'm saying?
Babies gotta eat.
They gotta eat, and you know, mama gotta eat. Like we all gotta eat, you know. But it's not just money. But money is number one, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, no, yes, money. And a lot of times that people ask me to do shows, like I'm currently negotiating a show that I'm supposed to be doing, and I have so many people like, Jess, like, why are you doing that show? They're not paying you what you deserve, and I'm like, justifying, but they're doing A, B, C, and D, but they're like, but they should be paying you more. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I don't know what it is about me, but they don't want to pay. They want me to do it because they know my potential. They know my views. They know what I bring to the table, but they don't want to pay.
Do they know you personally?
They don't know me personally, but they know me based on what they see on social media. And that's why they're asking me to do certain stuff. But they don't want to pay as much as they would pay a male comedian. And if you look in the Cape Verdean spectrum and how Cape Verdean comedians are, you don't see a lot of women who do what I do. You don't. And I feel like a lot of people downplay that. I don't get a lot of recognition for what I do. And when it comes to that, a lot of people don't want to pay. And I have to just be like nice, just like, all right, it's okay. Like, I'm going to take the opportunity. But a part of me does feel like, damn, like you're going to pay him $1,000, but you're only going to pay me $500.
Yeah.
And I'm a mother of 3. Like, how does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So with that being said, like opportunity, so I definitely get both sides of it, but you definitely 100% have to make sure that that opportunity will double what you should have got paid in the first place. So say if like, I don't even know like, you know, where we're talking about, but say if someone's trying to book you for 500, you think that you should be booked for 1,000. If you do take that opportunity needs to lead you into places that then create 2,000 for you. That's how I would sum it up.
Right.
Because what also happens is people talk. So if someone says like, oh, you got like how much does she cost? And then that's your price.
Right.
So like if you're unhappy with the price, like don't take it, because that, like they'll try to nail you to that price. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Would you rather be loved or respected?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like when I first started doing this, I would have said loved. But now I feel respected because it's like, don't play with me. Okay.
You probably have more, but name 2 best friends of yours.
Oh, Katia. I love her. She's like my rock. I feel like I've been through so much, and she's like one person that's, well, Katia and Cassandra, right? Because I feel like people misconstrue what a best friend is. A best friend doesn't have to be someone who's like on your ass all the time. But I feel like a best friend is somebody that, even if we don't talk all the time, I can call you like, hey girl, like I'm going through this, and they're gonna be there like, come over, let's talk. Or you need somebody to talk to, let's talk. You need me there, I'm there. And Katia and Cassandra is somebody that I feel are those 2 girls. And it's so funny because with Cassandra, we had a little thing where we went through something where I felt like she wasn't there, but I felt like I could tell her, like, you weren't there when I needed you. and then now she knows, but now there's boundaries. And then my sister, my only sister, like no matter what we go through, like I'd be one, but that's my rock.
So if I was to ask Katia and Cassandra, what you need to work on the most, what would each one of them tell me?
Picking up the fucking phone. Sorry.
Yeah. So they call you all the time. You don't pick up
no,
or text you.
I'm bad with communication, like on the phone. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's because like I go through my stuff where sometimes I just don't want to talk. I'm a texter though. Like you text me, I'm gonna text you back, even if it takes a while. And I used to be a talker. Like I used to be the person like you can call me anytime, we're gonna talk. But into adulthood and in the stage that I'm at in my life, I'm just not there right now. So I think as a whole, it's not just them. Anybody would be like, she can pick up the phone more.
What's your most regretful purchase?
Damn. What did I regret purchasing recently? I don't know. That's a good question. Wow, that's hard. I know I have one. Probably a pair of clothing that I didn't really need. Like sometimes, like I think the other day, last week, I had a show and I brought $70 pair of jeans, or not even like cargo pants. It's like, girl, for what? Why? Honestly, a lot of people be like, girl, please, $70 is nothing. When you have 3 kids, $70 for a pair of pants.
Every penny counts.
Yeah.
Every penny counts. When it's all said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as a person who was always caring, who always gave her all, and just was always so lovable. I feel like I'm so lovable that sometimes it just works against me. But I always, no matter if it does work against me, I always want people to remember, like, nah, you know, Jess was like that, but she was a very loving person. And I want people to always remember that. Like, I give me as a genuine person, what you guys see is what you guys get. Like, you guys are seeing Jess, not a fake version of me, but who I am. Even my vulnerabilities, even like where I lack, you guys are seeing me. Sometimes I don't want to put myself out there. And I put videos out there where I don't feel happy with them. But I'm doing it because I want to somehow make someone happy. But I'm not always happy with what I'm putting out there. And I want people to see, like, she's selfless and she is loving. I do want people to always remember that about me.
And now, on the kind of discretionary tale of male comedians getting more money than female comedians, what do you think has to happen for that to change?
Bitches, start speaking up for yourself.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to call them bitches. Can I say that again? Women, queens, start speaking up for yourself. No, deadass, seriously. And I think that's what it is like sometimes we feel like afraid to open our mouth and be like, no, this is wrong. And I'm going through something like this right now where I'm negotiating for something that they want me to do, which I can't talk about. I wish I could. But it's like, everyone's like, Jess, like, are you serious? Like, this is what they're trying to pay you. You're going to take it? And then I'm like, yes, because I want it for the experience. Like, they're not paying me what I would like for the show, but they're paying me for the experience. Like, they're paying everything else, just not what I would like for the show. And they're like, no, like, you can't take that. You just did a show. They didn't pay you what you should have gotten paid. So how are you going to go to another place and get less than what you deserve? And then I feel bad because then I get mad at them, the people who are looking out for me, who are saying, like, Jess, like, no, you deserve more. And I'm like, just leave it alone. Like, they're reaching out to me. It's an opportunity. Just let me embrace this opportunity and have fun with it. They're like, you can do that, but what they're offering you is not right.
Yeah.
Because they're offering your male counterparts much more. And I'm the type of person that is like, yeah, but kind of I like want the experience.
I see that.
But I think it's just like speaking up for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And I think, I mean, it sounds kind of messed up, but I also think it's going to take the male counterparts, what you say, to also put their foot down. Like,
that part.
This needs to change, you know? Before we wrap things up, do you have any questions for me?
I do, actually, Mr. Ray.
Okay.
How long have you been doing your podcast?
So we're at 1 year and 2 months, something like that. Like 1 year and 2 months. Yeah, pretty new. We've been fairly consistent. I would say at least 2 pods every 3 weeks, something like that. So it's been going pretty well. This is going to be in the 30s. I don't know what exactly 30 is going to be, but it's like 35, 37, something like that. So we've done a decent amount. Pretty, like I said, we keep the ball rolling. There's a lot of podcasts that like pop up and then they're done 5 episodes later. But we've been pretty consistent, and the numbers keep on going up and up and up. So
yes, going strong.
Yes.
And what is like your goal? Like, what do you hope to gain from your podcast? And what is your audience? Who do you want to keep interviewing?
So right now, my goal with all of this, it's changed a little bit. So at first it was a passion project. So all I do is listen to podcasts. Like when I'm not like at work or whatever, I'm listening to podcasts. So I was just like, hey, like let me try to do one, right? So at first it started off as a passion project. And then I realized, this is not only a great like marketing tool, but it's a good resource to connect myself with other people like yourself. Right. You know what I mean? So if I can see people that, you know, we're friends on social media, but we don't necessarily know each other like that, but I know that they're doing good things. This is like my invitation for not only them to kind of share their story, which 9 times out of 10 they haven't really told, but it's also kind of like a olive branch where it's like I now have this inner circle of people who, you know, Ray looked out for me. Like, he invited me to his podcast. So it's like, yo, Jess, I need a comedy ticket. Like, you'll probably be like, oh, all right, yeah, no doubt.
I got you.
So it's like that, but just like all over the place. Gotcha. So like, say if I needed like help on, you know, closing a real estate deal, or say if I needed help on the side of things where it comes to taxes, or say if I wanted to know what it was like to run a political campaign. It's like I've invited all these different walks of people to the couch, whereas though I hope, you know, and this is just a hope, but I hope that, you know, they would extend the olive branch back out to me.
Of course. Did anybody ever do anything like crazy on your podcast?
Crazy? So one person said something crazy that didn't make it. It didn't make it. Yeah. And it honestly, it would have been clickbait, like out the ass. Like it would have been like super viral. It was like TMZ damn near worthy of like what was said. And I chose to take the higher route and just like cut it out because it was just like I can't just have him say that. Like,
I get it.
And yeah. See, like he knows exactly what I'm saying. It was like, wait, did he just say that? And he stood on it too. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. Okay. But last but not least, if someone just went through like a hard time and they're kind of like off the beaten path, they need to get back up, they need to get refocused, what's something that you could tell that person to try to get them back to accomplishing their goals?
That's a good question. Find something that motivates you, whether it's a video, whether it's someone you talk to, and just literally own into that and listen to what they're saying and feel it and go for it. And I can say that because I've been there. I've been at my lowest lows of lows where I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I've been there. I'm not going to lie. I've been to that part of my life where I felt like I didn't want to be here. But what kept me here is obviously my kids. And for me, what helped me was just, first of all, obviously seeing my doctor. Don't take that medicine.
So all right. The therapist side of me, right, is coming out, and like, it does seem like whenever there's like something like extremely like vulnerable or extremely personal, you do have this side which like wants to make a joke out of it.
I do.
When it can be like extremely serious.
I do. I don't know why. I gotta ask my therapist why I'm like that, but I do, and I think maybe a lot of it has to do with me not really being able to be vulnerable growing up. Because if you grow up in a Cape Verdean household, the moment you start talking about depression or depression, comida, you have a house, you have food, like what are you depressed about?
Yeah.
You know? But when you grow older and you live your own life and you're, as a woman, you become your own woman, you do realize that shit's not really easy and it's hard out here. But you have to be strong, not only for yourself, but if you have kids, for your children.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was at my lowest point. I was really, really low where I didn't want to be here anymore. And what kept me wanting to be here were my kids. Because the way I think about it as a parent is like, how could I ever leave them? Who's going to love my kids the way I'm going to love my kids? You understand? But I had to pull it together and do what I needed to do. And for me, what I did was I just refocused myself. I had to take some time off of work, and luckily I had that, I guess you would call it a luxury of being able to take a leave. So I was able to take a few weeks off from work where I just was able to just focus on home, focus on what I'm going to do and not worried about work so much. Because when you're a mother, you're working full time, you're trying to do extra stuff to make extra money, and sometimes that's not even working for you. It's overwhelming, you know? And it takes like, and if you're like a person like me and you're always trying to help people, and that's when it was happening, is when I was trying to help people and people weren't appreciating it, it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And it took a toll on me really, really bad. And I have my own podcast, actually, that I do. We're on a hiatus right now. But it was in the middle of that podcast that I walked out. I walked out and I had to check myself into a hospital, which a lot of people don't know. So this is my first time sharing it. Because I felt like I was at my breaking point. And I did not want to be here anymore. And I had to figure myself out and learn who Jess was. And it took a while. It took a while.
What was like that last straw? I guess what was said on the pod that was kind of like that moment for you?
It wasn't really what was said on the podcast. Honestly, like we were just doing a regular podcast. I think it was something that was going on outside of the podcast that triggered me. And whatever triggered me really bad. Because I was already going through so much at the time that I just felt so overwhelmed. And it was like, I'm stressed out with work, and I felt like I was paying all the bills by myself. And I was helping someone who was living with me at the time, and the person was there with their kids, and they weren't helping me, and I wasn't getting any appreciation from anybody. And it's like, I'm doing so much, and when you do so much for everybody, if you're a person like me, like you want to do it, but when you don't get that appreciation back, or people don't recognize what you're doing and then they downplay it, it's like, why the freak am I doing this?
So I will say one thing, and take it or leave it, but I do see that there's like a reoccurring theme where it's like you are able to give every single piece of yourself to others. Like I can see that, right? But with that said, come attach is like a return receipt that not everyone's reading. And when they don't read it, not only do you not have your full self, but you are expecting something that's never going to be there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, moving forward, and like I said, take it or leave it, but moving forward, I would definitely obviously make myself whole again. But at the same time, if I am going to give a piece of myself out there, do not expect it back.
That part. But you know what? I've always been like that, right? It's like sometimes you give and you don't expect anything back. But it's like sometimes you overexert yourself.
Yeah.
And you give, but you give more than what you should be giving. And that was me. It was like, all right, I give, right? And I don't want to give examples because then people are going to know who I'm talking about. But like, I gave.
Yeah.
And I gave because this is Jess. This is who I am. I give. But then it's like I gave, but then you wanted more on top of what I was given because you were like, Jess is great. She's going to just be okay with it. But no, it's like everybody has their limits. Everyone has their boundaries. But sometimes even people with those limits, sometimes we're afraid to speak up. Sometimes we're afraid to be like, no, like this, like, what are you doing? But that's the problem, because we don't speak up. So when you don't speak up, that's when you end up to where I was. Like I said, at my breaking point, at my lowest point. But it was also a learning experience for me, because me as a 34-year-old, now I know I'm still going to be who I am. I'm always going to give. I'm always going to love. But now I have boundaries. So if you're somebody like me who loves to give, who loves to love, who loves to make you want to make the world a better freaking place, go ahead. But have your boundaries where it's not overtaking who you are as a person, where like, girl, like, or boy, like, you can do it, but don't lose yourself in that process. And I have lost myself multiple times. In many situations.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone. I'm so thankful and glad that you're here with us today. And I wish you nothing but the best. If you want to just kind of like give the viewership where to find you next, or where they can download your music, where they can see your comedic value, if you want to just like give a rundown of that stuff. Okay.
I'm pretty much on like everything on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm at Andrade Me, ANDRADEME.
She's funny.
And my music is just Jess Andrade, Malcriada.
Okay, sounds good. Y'all be smooth out there.